Hi, welcome. This is the CaddyInfo Cadillac Conversations live. We used to do these religiously on Thursday nights, and we're trying to get back on that onto our Thursday night rhythm. I have with me Cadillac Jim from the forums.
Good evening.
Perfect. And I have Texas Jim with me.
Howdy, everybody.
And glad to have both of them on. We haven't been able to be on in weeks and weeks and weeks, and I missed you guys.
Yeah.
So we were just chatting before the show, and I had to quick turn on the start broadcast. Cadillac's sales sagged again this month, except for the Escalade. The Escalades came charging back. Now, the Cadillac only sells 1,000 Escalades a month, but the Escalade has the best sticker price and doubled its sales this year with the new model coming out. Was that surprising for you guys?
Not really. It's a winner.
People have been waiting on the new one.
It's the one truck I would consider driving. And I
really enjoyed the Escalade when I had one for the weekend.
Yeah, they're great cars.
And as long as I didn't have to pay for the gas in it, I would drive one every day.
Well, within reason, low gas mileage is just the price you pay for a better car.
Well, now the gas has gone to nothing, right? Like they give you 2 gallons of gas if you buy a soda. Then,
not quite.
But you can put regular unleaded in it because it's just a small block Chevy, right?
Well, I don't know what I don't even care what they do.
Yeah, it's a 6.2, but it's not turbocharged or supercharged, so I think it runs on regular unleaded. So you could probably fill it up $2 a gallon, and you still be once a week pouring gas in there, but it'd be half as expensive to run as when it was $4 a gallon.
Right.
As long as it's got a big gas tank, so you don't have to, become a nuisance buying gas all the time. Will an LSA go in it? Can you get an LSA in it?
No, not yet.
No.
there is a contingent that wants to have an Escalade V, but Cadillac said they'll either have a Platinum or a V of cars. They won't have both. Mm-hmm. A high luxury or high performance, one or the other of each model. I think that's another bad choice. But the one I wanted was the Escalade Hybrid. They said technically, if you kept it under 35 miles an hour, you could run that on batteries only, on electric only.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to take that challenge of seeing if I could go to work on my normal commute and keep it in battery mode only the whole way, and then be able to say, yes, I drive an Escalade and it gets 90 miles per gallon.
But talk to Crest, see if you can get one for a couple of days for publicity stunt on the agreement that you posted on CaddyInfo.
Exactly. They don't sell them anymore. They discontinued it when they came out with the new model.
Well, I know.
They got rid of the EXT and the...
Yeah, but they've still got some of them on the lot.
Oh, yeah, there's still some of them creeping around, but they want too much money for them to experiment.
Well, that says something right there.
Okay. Let's see what Jim's saying. Tell them that you want one for the weekend, or for a couple of days. Tell them you want one for a couple of days during the week.
And then publish the experiment, and then it doesn't cost me anything. I understand the advice.
It doesn't cost them anything, and they get free publicity on a worldwide forum.
Now, what happens if I fall in love with it and have to write a check for $75,000? You guys are going to chip in, right?
No.
No. No.
Yeah. I just got a reply from Kevin.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
He said something, but we don't know what.
No, I haven't got. I've got about 3 windows, and all of a sudden my mouse froze. I may have a virtual machine running in the background, or it may be Lynn in the trackball.
Well, sometimes, Kevin, it's hard to tell where the invites are coming, and so I'm going to I'll send another invite window at the expense of you guys getting 5 windows open now.
Okay.
And the other thing is I'll put the Q&A up.
I think
Clever. I'll put the Q&A up, and so if you're trying to contact me to make sure you get an invite to this discussion.
Kevin says he's coming.
Good. If you're trying to contact me to get an invite to the discussion and you're not Kevin, then you can post a question. You can contact me directly on Google+. If you have my cell number, you can actually contact me via text message, but probably you don't. And so contact me via Google Plus or contact me in the Q&A off the YouTube or the Google Plus, either one. But Kevin, if you're trying to join us, I will watch for you through one of those methods. I did plus one the actual event to help you find the event, and I sent another invitation just now. But if there's something else that we can do to help you find your way in here, then let me know.
Okay, I'm trying to send him a direct link.
So the Escalade sales doubled. The ATS sales sagged. The CTS sales sagged. The STX sales sagged, as they have continued to do. The SRX sold 3,500, which is nice, but they sold 4,500 last year. Last year, January was part of the snow apocalypse, so nobody was buying any cars then. So if you do worse this year than last year, and last year was the time when nobody was buying any cars, life is sad. And meanwhile, the luxury market went up. So if your sales go down at a time when the luxury market's going up, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, you're selling to another demographic. Look at the model that is going up. The Escalade's going up. So something, there's obviously, the world is real, so there's something real going on.
Well, the SRX is old and is getting long in the tooth now. They've got 2 more SUVs coming. So, part of Cadillac's argument is they still don't have the whole line. They don't have the high-end luxury car. They're missing a little sporty SUV, and they're missing a big SUV. Hey, there he is, Kevin. How are you?
Yeah. All right.
Hey, the gang's all here, and introducing KHE from the forums.
Hey, KHE.
Yeah, just use my, yeah.
Good.
He's still working the electronics.
Yeah, I'm still adjusting the volume and everything here.
No worries. We'll keep talking so that you can adjust. Okay. And if we blow you out, it's because I was yelling. We're just saying, if your sales are down on every one of your cars compared with a year ago when there was a snow apocalypse, then you're doing something wrong.
Well, you're doing almost everything wrong.
The sooner Cadillac recognizes that they're doing something wrong and do something different, then the happier they'll be.
Well, they're in the midst of a radical change in direction now. You've seen that list of videos you put up, like Red Thunder and that whole sequence.
I love Red Thunder, yeah.
Yeah, they've got a whole sequence of a whole new approach toward image and advertising. Let's give it a chance to take hold. That takes more than a few days.
Now, I sat down to watch the Super Bowl, but I didn't see the Cadillac Sounds commercial. Did you guys see that during the Super Bowl?
No, I missed the Super Bowl. I went to see American Sniper instead that time.
I watched it, and I skipped through most of the Super Bowl. I was watching it strictly for the commercials.
I'm going to get those on YouTube tomorrow.
And I don't remember seeing any Cadillac commercials that stuck in my mind at all.
Yeah, I thought that was part of the whole thing. They were running this contest, and they were going to pick one of the 3 videos, and it was going to show during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that really worked for Doritos. Remember that kid playing cowboy? He rode his St. Bernard to save the day? That was somebody did that with their cell phone. Won a contest. They used it for 2 years.
Perfect. So, again, Cadillac says they're missing some models. They're missing the high-end luxury car. They're missing a couple of SUVs. They're missing a model below the ATS. But if you can't sell any ATSs, is it going to help to come out with a decontented ATS?
What's a decontent?
Decontented. They're going to have to come out with a car that they think is cheaper, that doesn't have as many gadgets and is smaller than an ATS.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's going to cost the same as an ATS.
Well, then I wouldn't have any use for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the El Calais series, exactly. Where, and one argument has actually been, you come out with the new model called a CT2, and then you rename the ATS the CT3, and you make it a little bit bigger like the CTS. It's like they didn't just live through the last 2 years, right? Of once they made the CTS bigger and raised the price on it and came out with the ATS, they were going to sell 9,000 of them a month. And then they did that, and they're not selling any. They're selling $3,000 of them a month. And so now they're saying,
you're not going to sell more when you raise the price.
No, now they're saying we're going to do the same thing over again. It didn't work so well last time. We're going to do it over again. Come out with a CT2 below the ATS, change the name of the ATS to the CT3, and then we're going to sell tons of those.
That's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
So how would you sell the ATS?
I would price the entry-level ATS at $29,900.
Just like the Mercedes is competing against. That's exactly what I would do. Is I would not come out with a new small car.
No,
I would use the ATS as my small car.
Absolutely. Because anything smaller than an ATS is not a Cadillac. Period. It's just not. Anything smaller than an ATS is not a Cadillac. It just don't fit.
I'm
It
frustrated.
don't fit the image. Cadillac is supposed to be a luxury car with all kinds of little gadgets and stuff on it. It always has been.
I'm okay if you give me a smaller car. If it's got the power and it's got the handling and it's got the luxury features, I'm okay with a smaller car.
Yeah, if it's
what
still
I'm saying is, don't take the ATS, the size the ATS is, come out with what you say is what you're calling a smaller car, but make it exactly the same size as the ATS, and then make the ATS bigger so that you can justify charging what you're already charging for it. I mean, that's ludicrous to me that you would go do a whole new car development plan in order to try and do over again what's not working now.
Right. It just don't make sense.
But I agree with you. I would take the ATS. If you want to sell one for $29,900, then use that 2.5 liter one for that, and lower the price of the 2 liter. But I would actually lower that one to $27,500, and I'd lower the price of the 2 liter turbo to $30,000 even, so you can get a 2 liter turbo for $30,000. And the max premium everything ATS should not be more than $15,000 above the starting price.
Correct.
Right now, the max everything ATS adds $25,000 in options.
See, that's ridiculous.
To a $35,000 car.
I like
$20,000 in options to a $35,000 car, and I think that's bad craziness.
But I like options. I like all the stuff on them, and I've always been one that when I went and bought one, I bought it loaded. I didn't mind paying for the options.
But has it always been that way? What percentage of the car did the options cost back in the day? Go ahead, Kevin.
Not almost as much as the whole car. They never were as much as the whole car.
No. Absolutely not. Kevin's right. That's what I was fixing to say. The percentage, okay, if you've got a $35,000 base ATS and you load it out and it jumps to 60, you've almost doubled the price of the car.
Yes.
And, that's ridiculous. When I bought the Fleetwood Brougham the Elegance, it wasn't almost double what a regular Fleetwood was.
No,
what I mean by that,
there are limits to what you can do in a redesign of a car. If you have that much of a spread, it's better to have two models and to have a line of production that has a collection that defines a model. You'll come up with the same product with a lot less money that way.
Yeah, and the literal figures are, just so in case people think we're banding words around, the ATS starts at 33, and you can option it up to 65. Starts at 33, and you can option it up to 65. And I think that's wrong. I think the max ATS, which would be all-wheel drive, 3.6 liter, premium or platinum ATS, if they ever come out with a platinum ATS, it should be no more than $15,000, no more than half the cost of the car.
What are
And
these
then the
options
CTS has room
that are
to
half the
sell.
cost of the car?
Pardon?
What are these? Some of these lists of the options that doubles the cost of that car?
Well, by the time you get the big one is by the time you get the premium package, and the premium package, because that adds on almost everything, and then there's a few options you can add on top of the premium package, like the radar cruise. But just going to the 3.6 liter engine gets you to 42. So you've already gone from 34 to 42. So that's $8,000. And then when you pick out the premium, that gets you to 48. And then
so just that engine is $8,000 for that engine. I mean, wow.
I think it's a lot more than the engine. It's probably the whole front suspension and the drive line and the steering gear, everything.
Well, again, the whole question on the why in the engine is why. That's all. I mean, that's exactly the question. That 3.6 liter engine costs probably the same as the 2.5 liter engine that's in the base model in terms of manufacturing.
It sounds to me like it's really a different car and it ought to be a different model, the V6.
I think there's an argument there, but they don't even. I mean, I think the problem is they have a different car that they can sell in the 40 to 60 range, and it should be called the CTS. And the ATS they should be selling in the $28,000 to $35,000 range.
Well, the ATS is smaller and nimbler, and with the V6, it'd be a preferable car to the CTS with the same engine.
Now,
that's what you're looking at.
Somebody in one of the articles mentioned in passing that a dealer had said they don't even need the 3.6 liter V6. It's just there for people that want to say that they have a bigger engine. But with the 2 liter turbo making so much power and torque so close to the V6 that the V6 wasn't even needed.
Well, that's easy to say walking around on the floor with your hands in your pocket. What does it feel like when you drive the two? How do they drive? What's the gas mileage?
The turbo is going to have more torque down and low than the V6 does because of the turbo characteristics. But the V6 has absolutely more power, because it has 321 instead of 272. But the acceleration, the Turbo 4 is 0.4 of a second behind the V6.
0.4 of a second is a long time in the real world. That's about 4 car lengths.
But so let's talk about that a minute. What if they dropped the 2 liter? What if they dropped the V6 and the ATS and just said the ATS was the 2 liter turbo?
Well,
not the 2.5, not the 3.6. It's the 2 liter turbo. Lower the price to $30, and then you have the premium version of it at $40, and you're done, right? Why do you have to have 8 different versions of ATSs?
That makes a whole lot more sense than what they have now.
I mean, I think that's part of what the confusion in the marketplace is, right? Is what does an ATS cost? Well, it starts at 35, but I wouldn't want the one at 35 because it's a unloaded. That's, as Jim says, what's the whole point to buying a Cadillac? The one at 34 with standard features doesn't have nav, doesn't have the nice leather, doesn't have the heads-up display, doesn't have all the things that you want. But if you're going to, it's the same problem that the dealer tried to talk me out of my wife's ATS, because I said, we wanted to get the driver awareness package, which is the radar cruise control. And he said, don't do that, because by the time you option that in, you could have gotten a CTS instead, and they're much nicer cars.
I would not listen to what a dealer says when he's trying to sell you a car, because my experience with salesmen is that they'll try to sell you what they have instead of what you want. Every time, they are experts at finding reasons to do that.
Yeah, or what they make the most money on.
Yeah, what's the most profit?
Yeah. But
I liked his argument, but I mean, I was looking for a car that was a year in anyway, and so there wasn't a choice of the CTS because the CTS had just come out that year, and so it wasn't a good wasn't a good tactic for me at the time.
What's the point of this radar cruise control? I mean, and tell me that's not
fun.
Well,
it's one of the most fun gadgets on the car. What it does is it'll sense the cars ahead of you, and it slows your car down to match their speed so that you don't run into the back of them.
Oh, I just pass them when it gets to that point.
That's what I end up doing too, is I know exactly the range that'll kick in, and as soon as I sense it about to kick in, I make sure I pull over to the left lane so it doesn't slow the car down.
Exactly.
So hopefully they've got to be using a different frequency than what'll set a radar detector off, because so many people run with detectors.
But where a case in point where it was useful and interesting, so I had cruise control on. We were coming up on a place where they were working on the highway, so it was turning from 3 lanes to 1 lane. The semi-tractor trailer pulled over up ahead of me. Without me doing anything on the cruise control, the car slowed down to match his speed. As soon as we got clear of the construction, the semi pulled back over into the right lane, and the car sped back up to my original set speed all on its own.
That sounds nice.
It was actually cool, and it was fun to play with on the trip.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got great entertainment out of it. Do you need it? No. But I could see right there the beginnings of autonomous cars.
It's also going to help prevent bumper thumpers.
The XTS I had the other day had the radar cruise. I played with it a little bit. And I also noticed that even when you have the cruise off, if you're coming up behind a car pretty fast,
yes,
it had the heads-up display.
Yes.
And also the dash turns red and starts flashing at you. And your heads-up display has a several curves, half circles.
Yes.
And they start blinking from the bottom to the top.
You shouldn't be seeing that, Jim.
Huh?
You should not be. It should not have to tell you that symbol.
Why?
That symbol means
nice
crash is imminent.
I'm in the process of ordering a thing to go on the windshield of my DTS.
Yes.
It goes right up at the top of the windshield, where your dark tin is.
Yes.
And it's the clear vinyl, like a bumper sticker thing. It's clear, and the words are printed backward where somebody can see them in the mirror. It says "move over," and it's got a big arrow, pointing to the right. And that way, when you come up behind somebody and they look up in their mirror, they see it. Mm-hmm. And it reminds them, hey, get out of the way.
There's so many, I don't know about there, but down in Texas, but there's so many people around here that will just camp in the left lane, and it just drives me berserk.
Drives me crazy.
Mm. They don't respond to the passing lights either.
So so clearly we could fix everything with the ATS if they just let us run their campaign. And I don't think in different commercials what the problem is. I think that the way they have staged and marketed the cars is the problem. And what they need to do is price them in a way that they can run the factory and sell all the cars the factory's capable of making. That's what I would like to see them do, is get more Cadillacs out there at a good price, and then raise the price once people know what the car is.
When I was selling real estate, most houses in the same area will be priced about the same. The way I made money selling real estate, even if I had my house right next to yours, I would sell it cheaper than what you're asking for yours, and I sold mine. I put my money in the pocket and go on down the road, and you're still sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
But did you feel that meant that your house wasn't as good as the Germans?
Didn't matter. I wanted to sell it. I wanted to make some money.
I thoroughly agree. They ought to be looking at what Cadillac buyers want, not at other makes. I think tying too much to other makes is a huge mistake.
Exactly. That's why I did not tie my price to everybody else's price. I don't care if they was asking $125. If I could make money and sell mine at $110, I'd sell it at $110. As long as I could still make some money. Then I can turn around and buy another one and fix it and sell it for $110. Everybody, and you're still sitting there waiting to get your 125, and I've already sold 2 for 110.
Now, do you think there's a market for an ATS coupe convertible? Would you like to see the ATS come out with a convertible version?
It would be a niche. Yeah. It would be a small niche.
Mm-hmm. But do you think a CT2C would sell? A CT3C would sell?
Could they make money at $200 to $500 a month?
And what would they sell it at? The ATS coupe starts at. Let's look at that. The ATS coupe. The ATS coupe. Because I was looking at the sedan. The ATS coupe. Now they've done with the ATS coupe what I said they should have done with the sedan, which is they only offer the 2-liter turbo and the 3.6. I would actually drop the 3.6, but it starts at 39. So, 41. No, a convertible. Yeah, it's 46 with the other one. Mm-hmm. Pardon?
Well, add a couple of thousand for the convertible. I mean, that's just the rule of thumb, but that only works if it's already. That only works if it's already a hard top. I don't know what the coupe looks like. Is it a hard top?
Well, the ATS coupe looks like a 2-door ATS, so it's a hard top.
Okay, well then add a couple of thousand.
It's not, Jim. It's not a pillarless hard top.
No.
Oh, it's got a B pillar.
It's a 2-door. It's a 2-door, but it's not a pillarless hard top. Like
if it's got a B pillar, it's going to take a different body. You can't take a car with a B pillar, cut the top off, and put a convertible top on it and have it structurally sound. Isn't that right, Kevin?
Right. That's correct.
Amazing.
Not even if you replace the B pillar with a roll bar?
Oh, yes, you could do that, but it sure looks funny for luxury.
Those Oldsmobiles did that.
That's what Mercedes did. They replaced theirs with pop-up roll bars.
That's what Kevin said. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Oldsmobile did that in the mid-90s too, and it looked, but it wasn't a pop-up roll bar. It was just there, and it looked pretty bad.
Now that's still advantageous to what compared with what they were selling the XLRs for. So in that way, you'd have a nice convertible Cadillac at 41, which is less than the XLRs, right?
Yeah, it was 2-liter turbo instead of the North Star.
Yeah. And it's not the Corvette chassis, yeah. But the ATS is pretty spry. And I love driving the ATS just because to me it feels like a light little go-kart. But
I got a kind of a pleasant surprise that I wasn't expecting the other day when I was over at the dealer. Yeah. I was killing some time sitting in the different cars, and the CTS coupe fit me better than the CTS sedan did.
Yeah, that big front door.
I could get in and out of it easier. No, it was just more comfortable sitting in it. I didn't feel like my legs were confined as much.
Well, that'd be a good buy too, because they kept with the last generation CTS coupe and wagon until they could, figure out replacements for them, and so it's kind of a leftover car, right?
For 2015, 2016, it's going with a new one.
Well, they're having the ATS coupe, but I think they're saying they're going to do all their variants on the ATS, not the CTS. But, they were planning on the ATS, as I say, selling 5,000 a month, and so they could afford to fund a bunch of variants. Whereas it's not, it's not selling where it should be.
So now
I don't know if we'll see all the variants or not.
Again. So now they're going to do the same thing again that didn't work.
So now they're going to come out with a smaller version and see if that works.
So they came out.
In order to keep from lowering the price of the car, they're going to spend $300 million on another car.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Well, I'm a firm believer in database decisions. If they manage to find a way to get a response out of people who come in and look at a Cadillac and leave without buying one, and those that come in and look at a Cadillac and leave after buying one, and find out what the differences are and focus on that, that would make some sense to me. We don't have any idea what that is. My feeling about comparing with one model, like you focus on 3 models of BMWs for pricing and comparison, and I think that's a mistake because a good percentage of the BMW drivers that I know of are just smugly convinced that BMWs are inherently superior to anything made in Ohio or Detroit or wherever, because that's just our backyard stuff, the patina of the import and the all that, that kind of thing, and you can't penetrate, you can't fix stupidity. So I think that you really ought to focus on who is a likely customer or possible customer for a Cadillac instead of who is a customer of a BMW, just to get more relevant information. Yeah.
What car does the ATS compete against? The 3 Series?
BMW 3 Series. The ATS is a clone of the BMW 3 Series, the previous generation BMW 3 Series. Meanwhile, BMW actually made their current 3 Series a little bit larger, but the ATS was designed to be light and spry and nimble like a 3 Series. And so it has all the disadvantages that the 3 Series had also, which is, a small rear seat and so on, but nobody fusses about that with the BMW.
Okay, I have an observation then. The boy went out before he bought his Z4. He went out and drove an ATS.
Yes.
And he drove it around for a couple hours. They just let him have one, to go drive for a while.
Yes.
He drove it around for a couple hours, in various traffic conditions and back roads and one thing and another, and took it back. He really, it just didn't impress him, and it was a V6. I don't know what trim level, but it was a V6.
Yes.
And he wasn't all that impressed with it. So he took it back, kept looking, eventually bought the little 2-passenger Z4. And he really likes it.
Yes. I like his taste. I always like the looks of the Z4s, the Z3s and the Z4s.
He took the Z4 and put it in the shop yesterday. The automatic leveling headlights wasn't working right, so he had to have that fixed. And they gave him a 328. So he drove that around yesterday afternoon and then took it back last night and got his car. But he had a few hours, in the 328. And he likes it, and I haven't asked him specifics, but he liked it a whole lot better than he did the ATS with the V6. And the 328 had a 4-cylinder in it. And I think it's rated at 250 horse.
Yeah, that 2-liter. It's got a 2-liter turbo at 242. Yeah.
Why did he like it better?
I haven't asked him specifics about why, but he said, the overall driving, he liked it a lot better. And he took it out on some twisty roads, and he said it surprised him how well it handled.
It would be nice to have some to break that down and get some feel for what that means in terms of the way the car is built and so forth.
Yeah, the comparison tests have been complimentary about the ATS in terms of driving dynamics against the 3 Series, but individual, drive one, you drive the other, and see which one suits you. But the engine in the BMW, even though it's rated at lower horsepower than the 2-liter turbo for the Cadillac, actually is underrated a bit, and so they make equivalent power.
No.
But the BMW's got the 8-speed automatic, whereas the ATS is restricted to the 6-speed automatic, and that was where I thought that they really had made a mistake, is they didn't have the 8 speeds ready for the ATS, and so they're missing that.
Now
but
he did say the 8-speed that's in the 8-speed that's in the 328 is nowhere near as good as the transmission in the Z4. The Z4, the Z4 shifts better, shifts quicker, downshifts quicker, it responds quicker. He said on the 328, if you just, driving along and you want it to downshift, when you push it down for it to downshift, it hesitates for a second before it actually downshifts. It doesn't just do it instantly. And
I wonder if they're actually different transmissions or the same transmission with different programming.
Well, it could be.
I would imagine they're both the same ZF 8-speed transmission.
The Z4 has the dual clutch. I don't know whether the 328 does or not.
So maybe not, yeah. The Z4 may have a more expensive transmission, yeah.
I hesitate. Did it bog the engine as the accelerator was going down and then decide to downshift? Or was it revving the engine and matching gear speeds while the accelerator was going down?
Neither one. It just waited a second. You give it gas, and you hear, you could hear it pulling. But it would wait a second before it actually downshifted. And he said that was real annoying.
The Eldorado would do that, but my car doesn't.
My car don't either.
Yeah, so, yeah.
It's just, it's just instantly.
Well, it's programming. Maybe the transmission had a sport mode that he might have experimented with, but who knows? If that would have helped, the dealer should have explained it to him if he wanted him to like the car.
Right.
Okay, I posted this question on the forums, and I don't know if I'm going to get a different car this year, but I'll tell you again the choices. So we've already got an ATS, so I'm thinking I wouldn't want to get a car just exactly like the one we've got. But so the choices right now are, of course, keep the STSV another year and wait and see, which is probably in the lead at the moment. The CTS V Sport, the V Sports are coming down to so a 2014 CTS V Sport is in the low 40s now. So that would be a sweet car, 420 horsepower, the magnetic ride control, and heads up display and everything. You got to watch those because they did make some that were not premium and some that were premium, and I'd want the premium one. And it would have some more features the ATSs don't have. Or I guess the third choice would be to get another ATS premium, but to get the 2014 or wait and get a 2015. 2015 has the hotspot, has the Wi-Fi hotspot.
Wow.
Well, I think I'm done for tonight.
Well, thanks for ringing in, Jim. But before you leave, so would you get, if you were choosing, would you pay $43 for the CTS V Sport or $33 for an ATS Premium?
$43 for the V Sport.
What do you say, Kevin?
Yeah, if money wasn't the object, I would go with the V Sport.
Yeah.
I'm tall enough, so I can't fit in these smaller. They keep making them smaller and smaller to meet all these regulations, and I can't fit in these cars.
Well, buying a V Sport when the V is out there is kind of like buying a 327 Corvette when they're selling a 427. I just have a hard time. But I would want the handling of the V Sport over with ATS, but I have to drive them to see whether that's really an advantage or not. There is one thing though, you can't always tell in a quick test drive. When I bought my car, the G display has the numbers for the maximum peak acceleration since the last time it was reset. When I bought the car, it was 0.84 on both sides. The previous owner had driven it 23,000 miles. When in short order, it was reading over 0.9 both directions. And it was over 1G on the right and right at 1G on the left when the dealer disconnected the battery trying to reset one of the computers in December. And it's already back up to almost 1G. And I have found that at 23 degrees, these tires do not hold. It's real funny. I just saw the traffic evaporate in front of me in my lane, and I stepped down the accelerator. This was like day before yesterday, or yesterday. It was 23 degrees out, and all of a sudden, zzz, I said, my God, is the tranny slipping? I looked, and just as I realized it was both needles doing it, but then I felt it start to give it a little of that. So I just gradually came off of it till it sort of caught and picked up my slack in the lane. But it's I think I would miss that with just if I went down 100 horse. I'd rather go up 100 horse.
Well, and as we say, gas is cheap these days, so I kept thinking I'd want a car with a little more range, but I'm not needing to run to Arkansas so much anymore, and gas is cheap.
Well, I told you one time we compared an Econobox to an Eldorado, and it cost $25 in gas a month, and this was when gas was $3 a gallon. And I would pay $25 a month to drive a Cadillac over an Econobox.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even worry about the gas. When it needs gas, I put gas in it. When it don't, I drive on down the road.
Yeah, those differences
I put gas
way overblown. Yeah.
There you go.
Switching to a car would cost you more than that in a shrink.
Well, keep us on schedule because I know Jim's still suffering from his cold, and I'm thrilled that everybody was on tonight, but we'll stay on our schedule. We're 12 minutes past time now. But okay. Kevin was on late, so we had to extend to have a proper chat with Kevin.
No problem.
I'm going to have to hang up. My wife's calling me.
Okay, thanks, Texas.
Good night, Jim.
Good night. Talk to y'all later.
So long.
Cadillac Jim, any last words before we ring off?
Have a wonderful evening.
Kevin?
Okay, you guys have a good evening.
Have a good evening, Kevin. Thanks for being on, guys. I'm going to hit stop broadcast. If you ever do want to participate, if you're watching from home and you want to participate with us Thursday nights at here on Google Plus Hangouts, and just let me know on Google Plus that you want to participate, and we'll add you to the invitation list. Thanks.